In March of this year, artist promotion company Chaotic Good bragged about using hundreds of normal-looking social media accounts to post about how great their clients' music was, making it seem like those bands were experiencing an organic groundswell of popularity. The term they use for their work? Trend simulation.
You just post trending audios. TikTok weights that really heavily in the algorithm. Artists can't do that because they want to promote their own music. And so a big part of what we are doing is posting enough volume across enough accounts with enough impressions to try to simulate the idea that the song is trending or moving or whatever you want to call it. And then as that happens, the artist posts start doing better and all this kind of things. Because if you were building a new account, which we do many times a day, you would never post non-trending audios. It's worst practices, but artists have to. And so we view our job as kind of pushing against that and helping them.
Now, hearing this made me wonder, how much of what we come across online is actually just advertising in disguise? Well, consider this passage from Vulture. Joe Lim estimates that 90% of what you see on the internet is advertising in disguise, and he should know. For 3 years, Lim ran a company called Floodify, which at its peak operated 65,000 dummy social media accounts used to drum up attention on behalf of paying clients. On a typical day, he says Floodify posted 50,000 videos across TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and X, all of them designed to pass for the unscripted output of ordinary users. In other words, on social media and on the internet more broadly, there's a higher and higher chance every day that what looks like ordinary organic content was actually created by a company that's getting paid to try to make something go viral. All of this begs many questions, but I think one of the big ones is this: should we ever trust social media again? Imagine a young woman, let's call her Ashley. Ashley logs into TikTok one day, and what she wants to know is, what are other people into right now? What's new? What's trending? And what she's met with, instead of a real answer to that question, is a paid marketing campaign designed to make it look like everyone is really excited about some new band. Essentially, otherwise normal accounts are given small amounts of money to post about something in particular that the company wants them to post about. Now at this point, Ashley can become susceptible to the bandwagon effect. And in fact, this is the goal of these campaigns. And the behavioral science consultants at the Decision Lab define this bandwagon effect as our habit of adopting certain behaviors or beliefs because many other people do the same. People tend to want to engage in what others are already engaging in, to jump on the bandwagon, so to speak. Even though in this case, the bandwagon isn't actually real, or at least it's been exaggerated. Now, a lot of people probably assume that they wouldn't actually be fooled by something like this, or that they're not susceptible to the bandwagon effect. But even if that's true, and the Ashleys of the world don't end up loving this particular band, their taste has still been shaped by forces they probably don't even know exist. And this brings us to the conversation starter. Does the idea of paid marketing campaigns in disguise change how you feel about social media? Why or why not? I first heard about all of this because one of the bands that apparently used the services of Chaotic Good was an indie band called Geese. Not to be confused with the band Goose, or with other bird-themed bands like Eagles,
Welcome to the Hotel California.
Doves,
'Cause there goes the fear.
a flock of seagulls, definitely not with the band Swans. Dazed suggested that Geese would be Gen Z's Nirvana, and The Atlantic said that Geese were pushing the rock and roll genre in new and electrifying directions. Their 2025 album, the relatably titled Getting Killed, who among us hasn't experienced that at least once, was supposed to be their best and weirdest album yet. I tried it out, and I thought some of the songs were pretty good. But while Geese got rave reviews from critics, apparently they wanted a little extra help from Chaotic Good to break into people's For You pages, the goal being that the hypothetical Ashleys of the world would become like this man, set up for an unforgettable confrontation with the Goose.
Oh, he's gonna pick up the gun. Oh, no!
As Jesus himself puts it in Matthew 23:37, how often I have longed to gather your children together as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, and you were not willing. Except in that context, he was referring to religious hypocrites in ancient Israel killing God's messengers and not to modern people resisting the pull of indie rock. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever written. All right, ultimately, an article from Wired drew the conclusion that the fanfare around the band Geese was actually a psyop. In other words, instead of chaotic good, maybe Geese should have tried lawful good. Ha! That's a D&D reference out there for you nerds. Now, if you're not familiar with the term psyop, it's short for psychological operation, and it can refer to purposefully mixing false ideas in to confuse the narrative around what's true in order to get people to act in a particular way. It's used to refer to propaganda campaigns, UFO conspiracies, and to military mind games more broadly. But many people thought this was way too dramatic of a conclusion for Wired to draw. The article quoted writer and musician Eliza McLamb, who wrote, "If 100 people think your song sucks, chaotic good will create 200 people who think your song is awesome." But in context, McLamb basically meant that as a compliment. Her overall point was that this is just how the internet works now. If you want to get people's attention, you have to play these games. But that's exhausting for musicians such as herself and takes away time from, actually making music. So if companies like Chaotic Good can outsource some of that work, at least in her mind, so much the better. So was Geese actually popular? Yes. Was their popularity somewhat inflated? Also yes. Were they an industry plant, part of a conspiracy to get us all to listen to nasal crooning? Undecided. What really bugs me in all of this is just the broader relationship between truth and deception. In 1936, George Orwell wrote this famous line about being made to do something he didn't want to do. He wears a mask and his face grows to fit it. His point was that we end up eventually becoming who we pretend to be. And the whole goal of a company like Chaotic Good is that what it pretends is real will eventually become real for users who engage with their staged content. As a Christian, ultimately, I'm committed to the idea that exposure to the truth is what liberates us. As Jesus puts it in John 8:32, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." But how does this idea fit with the claims of companies like Chaotic Good that, quote, "everything on the internet is fake"? Is this one more reason to go the route of someone like Paul Kingsnorth and abandon social media altogether? Or is it more important to try to create pockets of truthfulness in a sea of fakery? I'll leave the answer to you. My goal was simply, that's right, to start the conversation. Thanks for watching. Our goal on this channel is to translate pop culture to help start conversations about life, faith, culture, relationships, and purpose. If that sounds valuable to you, just give a honk right there on that subscribe button. And hey, if you want some more content to take a gander at, here's some more videos. Although fair warning, some of these are likely to ruffle some feathers. All right, some of you might feel like things are flying south here pretty quickly. You might even end up with bird flu and have to go to the hospital. I wrote this in a fever dream. Honk if you love Jesus.